We had such a fantastic conversation when we met.
Yes, thank you.
Both times we've talked. I just love chatting with you. And I wonder if you would share the stories that you shared with me about first of all, to say that I was put in touch with you by a mutual acquaintance because you are working with very advanced AI technology and things which are really pushing the boundaries of what helping human beings, I would say, to push the boundaries of what's possible for us. And we fell into a very different conversation than the one that I was expecting. And I was really
Yes.
intrigued with what you told me about your personal journey of, yeah, breaking through a perception of reality.
Yes, yes. And maybe on that phasing or syncing is the channel that I try to open and make videos where I call it Ecom Sheikh, where I have
Yes,
the Hebrew, the English, and the Arabic
yes.
name. Actually, I started that to share this experience because why I call it the Ecom Sheikh? Because for me, commerce, technology, and spirituality is just one thing. It is all spiritual. The starting point is spiritual and the end point is spiritual. And in between, we have commerce between humans, not only between humans, but commerce is an obligation for humans to play their role in the universe, in balancing the universe elements, just like ants and bees do that for us in our nature. So
Yes.
it's an obligation to trade. That's how we move values, energies, and we create currents and stuff. So that's a spiritual obligation. And technology, including AI, for me is a veil unveiling opportunity. It's how the other realms can either pull us towards a higher level of consciousness or push us. So there is a pull and there is a push way of doing this. So some of us, we use science, we're going to use technology and tools to discover that there is a realm or there is much more than what we can perceive with our senses. We're going to use technology and we are pushing towards that way. But also what happens is that the other realms and the other dimensions have the opportunity to pull us up or there, not up maybe,
Yeah.
but to pull us through the allegory of the cave of Plato about
Yes.
2,500 years ago, in saying that, look, when you put a virtual reality helmet in your face, on your face, or you put it on kids, pass 1 month and they will think that's the real reality. And they would forget that this was a virtual reality. So it's a way to tell us, hey, as much as you're confident that your reality is an absolute existence,
Yeah.
let us remind you with this technology that you can be fooled very easily. But
Wow.
so that's how I see technology. It's an invitation to break through, and it's an opportunity for us to ascend in a way spiritually. So that's why I
I
brought
love
them
that.
together.
Yeah, and I love that point of view so much because it's easy for us to feel somehow overwhelmed with technology or oppressed by it or that it's crushing our humanity in some way. And I feel
Yeah.
very much the way you do, though I could never say it so eloquently, but I feel that from the beginning, I felt that AI can help us to take over some work that would then liberate us
Yeah.
to expand our humanity, to expand the part. Somebody wrote a really great meme on Facebook that said, I want AI to do my dishes and laundry so that I can do art, not to do my art so that
Yes.
I can do dishes and laundry. And I that's what I think, that we are in charge of training it and using it and
Yeah.
putting boundaries on it, that it does what we want. And what we want is to have more time to develop our the highest expression of our humanity.
No, definitely. And I don't know if it's a good analogy, but like for me, from let's say a multi-dimensional perspective into what is AI, it's almost like I perceive it just like our interaction with fire as a species
Mm.
when we first discovered fire. That was a big
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
And fire is a double-edged sword, just like anything we discover as a species. So fire saved us from dangerous animals, helped us to cook the food. So save time, like you said. I don't want to spend time every day hunting and stuff. If I cook my meat, if I dry my fruits and vegetables, and I protect myself from animal, I extend my lifespan and I extend my free time to do other things. AI is the same, but then fire can be used to burn other people's houses and other people. And also fire has its own will. With the wind and stuff, it can just burn everything. Unfortunately, we have what is happening in California, but you can see that technologies, even when we don't create them or master them, as soon as you have a source of energy, it may behave in ways that you can't really control. And even if fire is supposed to be an inanimate, it doesn't have a will of its own, we still have a hard time to control it.
Yeah, clearly.
Yes, but it's very similar in the way that it can go wrong, but as much as it goes wrong sometimes, it can push humanity to a whole new level, because when fire came in, it modified our diet, it reduces sicknesses, bacteria, infections. There are so many things, and that's also one of the fields where AI, just like fire, is bringing a lot of advantages, is in the medical field and health. So it's really, yeah, it's really just a relationship between how we as a species, as humans, we interact with the technologies that we discover or that we are given in a way by another realm or another intervention, whichever way you want to frame it, discovery or gift that comes from somewhere else. Yeah, so AI is, I think, a fantastic opportunity for us, Tracy, and so we're lucky to be at the beginning of AI birth, and where probably we will all be pushed to the wall to make some very important decisions in our thought process. And I think that is what is disruptive to us, is that for a long time, mankind had never been challenged at the intellectual level by anything, by any animal, by any phenomena. We always come to have some form of control over the weather, gravity, speed. But this technology is one that escapes us in terms of mental capacity and intellect. And that's, I think, what is a bit disruptive for some people.
Absolutely.
Does it make sense?
Yes, completely. I love this. I love to have this kind of conversation. This is wonderful.
Yes, yeah. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say that I found it incredibly interesting to learn your journey, how you came to be passionate about this kind of spiritual interaction with technology and commerce and intellect. So tell us.
Yes, so we all have our own experiences like you have had, and we all have our ways of connecting to nature and all these things. So I would say that we are all equipped with the same opportunity. So there I have another wording that I try to say, is that the universe, or even the multiverses and all these things that we are starting to think of, is a marketplace. It's really a marketplace. And I knew that somehow very young, I knew that there was more to what we can experience with our direct senses, because of some small events that maybe are peculiar. Maybe, for example, my brothers and sisters, they would just close an eye on what happens. But every time something weird that happened in my youth, I was just very curious to go and poke it and see what it is and how it works. So I've been in this journey of seeking and curiosity. It's really a curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think in English, you have a saying that curiosity kills the cat. So it did. Curiosity ended up killing me, because the experience I had, that I think I started sharing with you, was really an experience that we call death. So that curiosity led me step by step in everything that I was able to notice. That in my mind, I was thinking, I know there's something more. I just know it. I can't access it. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it's called. I don't know the semantics. I just know that there is much more than what we can perceive. And so this, let's say, this behavior or this state of mind, I think, is what opens you to perception. And until either you perceive by, how you call that, either you seek this kind of knowledge or experience from a will base, you have a will to go for it. Some meditate, some people get it through knowledge, some through scientific experiments. So will can push it, and you can reach it by will, but also sometimes it reaches you, and sometimes it comes halfway, or sometimes it just comes and unearths you. because you were
Yes.
digging yourself down so much. So it will just pull you up and out. So that's my experience with, let's call it the real reality that we can't perceive.
And I think you explored with a lot of, I'm going to say, spiritual guides, religious people who you wanted to learn and to know what there could be in the old wisdom of the world that could help to explain the experiences that you had.
Yes. And it was a two reverse stage osmosis, I think some they would call it. So the first 10, 15 to 20 years, the first environment that I grew up in terms of spiritual and religious environment was French, Southern France Catholic environment, and my home culture, Moroccan Muslim environment.
Yeah.
And both of the traditions of these religions, not the religions themselves, but the tradition of the people with whom I was living, they were very closed to this kind of encounters and realms, although it's written in both their books. In the Old Testament, in the New Testament, in the Quran, there are references to all these things. That actually the first thing that it says is that God created the universes and the skies. So it says that there's much more to this, but somehow the Catholic and the Muslim North African cultures, they were really closed to spiritual phenomena. And both of them, I find my upbringing in these two cultures were much more about how to look Christian and how to look Muslim, rather than how to be it and live it internally and dive into yourself. So unfortunately, the first 15, 10 years, these two environments inhibited the spiritual expansion or connection. So I knew that I have to look somewhere else, because my family, my friends, my teachers, or whomever I was interacting with, they just, how you say, when you put for horses, you put those things here.
Blinders.
Yeah, they had blinders, they had social-cultural blinders, and they were not interested, or I don't know, they didn't seem to have a tolerance for taking a risk of looking a bit further the spectrum.
It is risky.
Yeah,
For them,
it
it's
is because
risky.
Yeah, because that's how they already feel stable. They have their routines, they have their rituals, and they have their sense of comfort and positioning in society and so on. And identity, actually, it's all about identity.
Yeah.
So I understand that people need an identity, and I don't judge anyone for that. So I had to look elsewhere. But before I stopped looking for human assistance in a way, unfortunately, because I couldn't find. I went to imams, I went to not pastors because it's Catholic, but fathers, the pères and nuns and stuff, priests, and it was not even the same semantics, and I couldn't break through in the discussions. So I started to use science, and I would go to read, even when I was young, things about what are the scientists doing to prove the infinite small and the infinite big of what we can observe. And I was very interested in these two spectrums ends. The miniature world and the mega size. So I started to use science for that discovery, and I still have less now, because I think it was some sort of alarm call to wake up. But I used to make these dreams of a visual, like some Hindu movements or Buddhist movements. They have these mantras that they draw, very colorful, and then it's fractal, and then it looks like it's moving.
Very colorful. I didn't know it looked like it's moving, but that's nice.
Yeah, so it's
not like a mandala.
Mandala, yeah, the mandalas.
Okay, yeah.
So I've been to Nepal.
Yeah.
So yes, so the mandalas, but it was something like the mandalas with those kind of colors, but comes with a vibration and very bright colors that I could not observe in awakened life. But in that dream, I was seeing those sort of mandalas which were very fractal.
Yeah.
And the light and the sound was vibrating in coordination, in resonance.
Yeah.
And that dream was very scary to me, because that frequency, I call it, I don't know if it's right, but I call it the frequency of the universe, or the base frequency of the universe or reality, it shakes you to your core, to every atom. of your being. And I was feeling that, and it was very disruptive because I was feeling like my composition was vibrating and resonating away. It's like I'm going to explode.
Wow.
So I was doing that dream, and I knew that frequency or that kind of vibration thing. And also I noticed the pattern in that mandala kind of thing. It had a 2D and a 3D pattern, and it was moving in a way that we don't understand. But now I understand it after having more knowledge, but it was moving in four dimensions. So it would do some moves that we can't explain in 3 dimension.
Wow.
It would disappear here and then reappear here. And then it will look like it's going inside of itself without cross-cutting. Very weird. So now I understand it better after I read. So I remember there was this 2-dimensional hexagonal shape that I was seeing at the core of that mandala thing. And then one day I was, I think, 11 or 12. Where I'm born in the south of France. It's a very cute village. It's called Apt-en-Provence. Opposite our house, there is a library. So I would go every day to the library for free. That's the super cool thing in France. So plenty libraries. And I would read these scientific books about atomic physics and mechanics. And then one day I opened a book that was about the atom's 2-dimensional organization. And then I saw that pattern in the gold atoms. It was, if you take a 1-layer, 2-dimensional flattened view of up-down of the gold atoms, that was exactly that pattern that I was seeing in my dreams. And I said, damn, that is what is calling me. And so I knew that precious metals had also a spiritual role beyond their economic role.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know now much better, but I knew before that gold and silver especially are two of the most important spiritual metals. And consequently, it's two of the most economically important metals, because humanity has been building trade, fair trade, real good trade using silver coins and gold coins.
Yeah.
So that's how I discovered, like, it's an amalgam of discovering by chance, meeting people. And then in the second part of my life, I met those people that I thought I cannot meet. And then I worked for almost 8 years at the same time with a Zen Buddhist master from Japan, from a Japanese royal family of samurais in a very ancient
wow.
traditional culture, and a Basque Sufi master. So it was a very...
What an incredible confluence of influences. That's so amazing.
Yeah, at the same time, together in the same project. So it's almost, you would think, this is the positive and this is the negative. They should be completely different. This guy is completely on the Eastern Buddhist side, Zen Buddhism, and this guy is like on Sunni Islam, Sufism. But actually working together, and it was really enriching. It's the same thing.
What were you working on? What were you working on?
So we were working on a project called the Gold Dinar, which was a gold coin in Malaysia and Indonesia, to protect farmers and people who don't understand inflation against inflation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was really at a low level for buying commodities like rice, fish, because the people could not understand, especially in Indonesia, they could not understand why they have to work more every year to buy less. And when you try to explain inflation to some people who are more into manual work, it doesn't compute for them.
Yeah.
They don't understand it.
And
but
in fact, it doesn't make any sense, really.
It doesn't, because it's fake.
Yeah.
It's a fake empowerment. There's another sentence I use, is that abundance is natural, poverty is artificial. Poverty has to be created by a system, because nature and mankind by itself, it has more than what it needs. It's full of abundance. So that's what they don't understand, is that they see the abundance of nature, especially when you are in tropical islands like Malaysia and Indonesia. Everything grows out by itself. Mangoes, you can't die of hunger. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So that was the project we were working on, and that brought us to Philippines, Southeast Asia, and many places around Asia, working on that project. Yeah, so that brings us again, like you said, is that I am convinced, and I knew it before, but then when I studied the ancient texts, whichever way you want to take it, if you use all the East, Darwinism, creationism, or whatever you use, or Islam, or Christianity, or Judaism, or Buddhism, all of them, and including the scientific experiment or the scientific discovery. At one point, they all will tell us we all come from one source. Either it's a bacteria, a source of light, a source, whatever. So they all agree that we are all coming from one source. And I think that's the element that should be the most important.
I agree. I agree with you.
I don't know if I answered your question because I'm more like a four-wheel drive. I can go off-road very fast.
But I love it so much. This is just a incredible conversation that I will absolutely listen to again.
Thank you. Thank you.
But so tell me how you now came from that environment, being in Southeast Asia and working with farmers around commerce and inflation. How did you come now to developing AI? And tell us maybe about RTILA.
Yes. So since I was 17, I was making websites and doing e-commerce, and I've been more of an entrepreneur. So after Asia, we went to Switzerland, and then I worked for the United Nations for 5 years. Again, going to developing countries and see how technology can help improve their income and the economy, because we were advising ministries of trade, ministries of information technology. So I've done 5 years with the UN, and then I've done 2 years with the German Foreign Cooperation. So let's call it development work.
Yeah.
I've done 7 years in the development work, again, using technologies to alleviate poverty. And then I left about a year and a half ago, 2 years. And I thought to myself, these big organizations, they all have bureaucracy and then some political games that I have a hard time to even understand because no one really tells you upfront what they want. And it's very tiring if you have to think every move, every word that may be said may mean something else. I find it very tiring for the mind and the soul. Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to go out and let me try to create as much impact as I can for myself, my family, but also for everyone. And what would be the technology that could be the most empowering for every human on Earth, no matter where you are, no matter where you're born, no matter whatever circumstances you're in. And I was lucky enough to meet the right people. And with the co-founder, we co-founded RTILA, which is an AI automation software. And as such, it's really for me the most empowering software because it can empower the launch of almost any business. If AI and automation can reduce the marketing cost, the lead generation, and building your first product or your website, then everybody can launch a business that otherwise they thought that I need too much capital or I need a debt, I need to go in debt. So for me, if I can use technology to avoid debt, it's huge. Yet I still have as if I had access to unlimited capital or a lot of capital, but it's actually coming from a software. And not just a software, it's an approach. Is if I can think and automate my tasks, just like you, maybe I can do 10 times more valuable things, 10 times more in volume, but also 10 times more in quality. So that's what we do every day. Like, how can we turn the repetitive tasks into bots, robots that do that job? And how can we spend time with you, spend time designing the next function or adding value in a different way? And if I'm not adding value, then let me relax and enjoy life.
Yeah.
Spend time with my family, go kayaking or something.
You do kayaking there where you are?
Yeah, I like to be I like to be in touch with the sea and or mountains. So that's the story of RTILA. And RTILA in the North African language, it means the spider. So it's like how you can spawn your web on the internet as a business owner and then catch a lot of mosquitoes.
Yeah, fantastic.
In a passive way.
Fantastic. So tell me, who is working with you to take advantage of this? How does it look in
terms of the user base?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have two groups of users. We have the group of 3 groups, actually. We have the groups of developers, programmers. They could do it from scratch, building automations with Python and other languages, but they also want to save time because coding every time, reinventing the wheel in terms of coding is not useful. So they will use our software to develop faster. Okay. And then they will use their programming skills to add those custom functions that we don't have, but we have opened our command engines to third-party developers so they can add up their functions. So that's one group, and they love it because they can customize it to whatever they want and add functionalities. Then we have another group, which are business developers, business people. They want to use automation to enhance their service offering, to do it faster, cheaper, or to access more clients that otherwise they could not access. So those are like agencies, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And then we have a third one, which is very new and where there is a big underserved market. It's the enterprise level. There's a lot of big corporations that, let's say, what we notice is that when a company has about 100 employees, they have, when you look at the curve of development, the benefit that you can get from AI when you're alone is already high. Two people working together is like this, 10 like this. But when you have 100 people, it's it's almost like a vertical potential progress. Wow. So we discovered that they were underserved because they want to use AI and automation, but because usually companies like that, they are regulated, they have rules, they don't want to expose their intellectual property.
Yes.
So they are fearful of AI and because they don't want to put their stuff on the cloud or give away their know-how to ChatGPT or Claude online. You don't know what they're going to do. It's secured. There are privacy rules, but you don't know. And sometimes the law of your country or jurisdiction says that you cannot upload your client's passport, you cannot upload your medical records of your patients, you cannot do that, and so on. So that's where we find a very big opportunity, is that we bring the AI locally. So RTILA can work with downloadable AI models like Llama 3, and then we'll crunch the data with that local AI within the environment of the company or even a laptop. So it doesn't go out of the network of these corporations. And the corporations, they can make available that AI, which is like in their controlled environment, to all their staff and remove so many softwares that they pay now per subscription every month. So if you have 100 employees and everyone has 3-4 subscriptions, it's very fast, $500,000 per year.
Yeah.
So that's a big new market that we are after because of this self-hosted AI automation potential.
This is all so fantastic. And it's even breaking my brain as I think about it to really understand how all of this is built on a platform of spirituality.
Yeah, so it's the same with my partners. And that's the nice thing, is that we all have this feeling that we want to give back. Whatever you are, even people who think that they are stingy, it will catch up to you again. And that's how we behave with our partners, is that we thought we're going to do business, we're going to make money, because if you don't make money, even if you have a goodwill, it will not work.
Right.
You have to make money, you have to be efficient, you have to provide added value, and you have to be paid for it, if not very well, because that sustains the ecosystem. The healthy ecosystem needs to be sustained. So that's what we do. For every functionality that we want to develop is how can it make our clients' life easier, save them time. And in the spiritual realm, or let's say in the other realms, if I may say, time and space doesn't exist. It doesn't need to exist. It can be conceived of, but it's not like for us here, time and space is like a locker. It's a lock.
Yeah.
And in our experience of life, we only experience time in one direction, which is fleeing. It's fleeing away. We can watch a YouTube video and come backwards and watch again. But when we spend our life, we only spend it, when we spend our time, we only spend it in one direction. It goes away.
Yes.
And spiritually, again, the only way that we can experience time in the reverse direction is when we can create time by automating our task and saving that time that could have taken me 100 hours. Now I have liberated the 100 hours. So if you make an abstraction of time flowing in one direction, you have a pocket of time. You created the bubble of time. So if you create a bubble of time, it's like traveling backwards in time. It's the same. It's the same. So it's probably one of the few technologies with robotics. So robotics did that before. Robotics took away the time that we spend anatomically carrying things, putting them in boxes. It created time for us so that we can step back and do more artistic, more creative things. So the AI is the same, but it does it at for the intellectual tasks. And robotics does it for the manual tasks. And now the two together, when you automate the intellect and the physical operations, so when you take robotics and AI, then that is like a big bang explosion in terms of effect, because now you can have an artificial intelligent process that can make decision and self-learn, and that can interact physically with the environment. So it's scary.
Yeah.
But as much as it's scary, it can be very liberating for us as a
It's
species.
liberating. It's liberating on such an interesting level because as you're talking, I'm feeling a kind of tightness in my chest about the idea that a bot is taking over my, what can I say? I'm giving a kind of intellectual identity away. And
Yeah,
it's liberating me on a level of discovering who I really am that is not about my intellect. And that's so
definitely. Yeah.
in line with where I am in my own development at this moment that it's really hitting me hard. Like that's the challenge, to be able to unhook from my identity attachment to my intellect
Yeah.
and find out who I really am, which is
But
not my intellect.
yeah, that's probably the most difficult exercise for humans. We can stop doing we are capable of stopping of doing almost anything that we do, but it's very hard to stop thinking. I don't know,
Ah,
people who want to start to meditate. People don't realize how difficult it is to actually not think.
yeah.
It's very difficult,
And
but it's
it's
liberating.
also very difficult to not believe that I think, therefore I am.
It's
I
the big
identify with my intellectual capacity is my way of being in the world. It's my
yeah.
marker, it's my identifier.
So I was talking about the cultures where I'm born and grew up, and the French culture is very Cartesian. It's defined by Descartes. Je suis. So I am. So for me, the Cartesian philosophy is the biggest prison for mankind. It's a dualism. It's a dualism, fake ground on which you can establish who you think you are. It's a very, after years of studying it and thinking about it, it has an advantage. It has a short-term immediate advantage of providing you with a sense of you're not being cheated by some more powerful thing, and give you a sense of ownership on your immediate environment. But at the same time, it's actually blocking you from realizing that you are a puppet anyway. There are much more things going on. So you're just blocking yourself, and like the ostriches, they put their head in
Yeah,
the ground.
yeah.
So that's the Cartesian approach, is that let me be in a hole where I think I'm under control, which
Yes.
in some specific situations, it's a healing process. I agree with it. I do give it value, but for most of the time, it will just keep you in the darkness. So what Descartes philosophy didn't do, I think the Darwinian did, and then the Freud
Yeah.
psychology did, and the damage that was not done by these guys has been done by the religions.
Yeah.
So every religion has done the same thing. It
Yeah.
creates a prism, PRISM,
Yes. Yeah.
which is a prison.
It is also a prison. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a prison. The prison. So the optical definition of a prism is that it bounces light from its original direction.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what institutionalized religions do, what intellectual concepts do, is that they divert the real behavior of light and reality into their, how you call it, into their dogma.
Yes.
Yeah. And it has a benefit because it allows you to experience the universe under a controlled environment. So it's really a rule-based system. It's an operating system for us. Religions, political parties, philosophies, scientific concepts, they're all just operating systems because, like you said, we are easily overwhelmed, our brain. And we actually are not capable of dealing with immediate interaction with reality. We are always dealing with an indirect representation of reality, a model, a signal, a representation. If you look at really what we are doing, we don't even experience the light that we see immediately. We experience the neural transmission and then something that happens in our mind to tell us that this is a tree and it's green and it has one side of shade and one side unlighted.
Yeah.
But we don't actually experience that firsthand. Same with the
Right.
sound, same with the touch. So yeah, for me, everything comes back to the same origin or the same destination.
I could talk to you like for hours,
No, I could.
for
I
days
also.
in a row.
No,
This
but
is a
please let me know. Please let
fantastic.
me know when you want to dive on something or if you want more details.
I could dive on it all. I'm going to listen back to this and then we'll
Yeah,
have another conversation and explore something in particular because
sure.
we've already had several conversations that were not recorded and they were just as impactful for me as this one. So please tell
Excellent.
people who are listening how they can find you at RTILA, at Ecom wherever
Yeah.
we can get
So
more.
RTILA.com is our software, RTILA.com. If not, my LinkedIn profile, Mohamed Es Fih. Maybe we can link for
Yes,
it
of
on the
course.
video. And what else? And Ecom Sheikh, yes, ECOMSHEIKH.com, Ecom Sheikh.
Okay.
So I have just 2 or 3 videos on my YouTube channel, Ecom Sheikh, but this one is going to be a new one.
Okay,
And
wonderful, wonderful. It's such a delight to have met you and to have the opportunity to chat with you.